You've probably heard of the platonic solids, such as the cube, the tetrahedron. Those are the only two I have on me right now, but there are three others. If you're watching my channel, you probably know what they are. And they're basically the most regular versions of polyhedra, or 3D shapes. You may also be familiar with the three regular two-dimensional tilings, which are the hexagonal tiling, the triangular tiling, and the square tiling. And a while ago, I made a video on the three two-dimensional twisty puzzles that represent those tilings. I would show you the puzzles, but I don't have them on me right now either. However, what I do have are the newest 2D puzzles I've made, which are some of the semi-regular tilings and some of the Catalan tilings, which are basically just 2D equivalents of the Archimedean and Catalan solids, respectively. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I recommend watching these two videos by Kuvina, as they explain it pretty nicely. You should also watch this video, which is the one that I made about the regular tilings in 2D puzzle form. Anyway, I've got 4 puzzles to show off in this video, and I might even make more in the future. This all started when I was watching Kuvina's video on tilings, and I realized that I could make a chiropentagonal tiling puzzle using just the pieces from a hex shaper and with these wacky looking centers. Fortunately, this is an original puzzle because no one's made it before. After all, if I go on the Twisty Puzzle Museum, I'll see that the word chiro doesn't come up with anything. So no one must have made it before. You've got to be kidding me. This is an original puzzle because nobody has made it before, and because nobody's made it before, I get to name it. This one is the Orlov 4 because apparently somebody beat me to it. But before I get into the name of this puzzle, I do have a bit of explaining to do. So there is a series of jumbling only puzzles where some corners are threefold and some corners are fourfold or higher, and basically the fourfold corners are broken up into these threefold corners and aren't shallow enough to intersect with the diagonal centers. If this doesn't make any sense, this is what it looks like as a rhombic dodecahedron. And the thing about this series of puzzles is that all of the names are actually very similar because all of the names contain a synonym for crazy and a celestial object, and the two have to alliterate basically. So you've got the crazy comet, the asteroid attack, the meteor madness, the Psychopa satellite, and many others. Now, I wasn't sure what to name this, and then I kind of realized I don't fully have to follow the rules. So this is the Quackpot Quasar. By the way, I apologize for any background noise. That is my heater, and I cannot turn it off. Anyway, both of these puzzles are both solved very similarly to the hex shaper. You gotta keep in mind the wacky centers do cause a bit of bandaging. Designing it is also extremely similar. The interesting thing about the Quackpot Quasar is that the edges actually can never be flipped in their place because there are no odd fold corners, just one corner, like between all the pieces that's connected, and it's a fourfold corner. On this one, the edges can have their orientation flipped because there are two threefold corners instead. Now that doesn't really matter on this because of the way I color them, so that each piece is only one color, but it's still interesting. And the turning on these puzzles is alright. The only issue is, as you can see, there's a bit of catching, and usually it's with these corners on the sharp angles of the center pieces. Doesn't really look like it's catching usually, so it's usually just the back. And that goes for both of these puzzles, as of course I designed them with the exact same pieces, and the only difference is the frame. In fact, these actually share the same numbers of each piece type, except that the Quackpot Quasar, I believe, has exactly one more edge piece than the Orlov 4, and that's the only difference. It's just a different arrangement of centers. I wanted to make this because it's pretty much the closest thing we can get to a regular pentagonal tiling. After this, I made a couple of semi-regular tilings, and they're pretty big, and you'll see why. So let's start with this one, which is a face-turning, truncated square tiling. I like to think of this one as being similar to the tetradecaminx, since it pretty much is just the same thing, but with octagons instead of hexagons. And the first thing to notice about this is that it's massive. Here's the standard size 3x3 for comparison. I don't have a normal one. I don't remember off the top of my head how wide it is, but I'll put it up on screen. And there's actually a reason why it had to be so big and have so many circles. So the thing about pretty much any type of twisty puzzle is that you need to have at least 3 axes of rotation. Most biax puzzles are really hard to the point of being considered unsolvable, especially with 2-dimensional puzzles. Now this doesn't create a size issue on most other puzzles because they already have multiple of the same type of circle, but on this one you need at least like 6 of these 9 circles to have multiple of each circle type. And I like to have solved every puzzle I design, so obviously I had to make this big. And it worked. It was pretty easily solvable, actually with similar methods to the tetradecaminx. By the way, this puzzle is called the Octium, like the quadrium, but the squares are octagons now. Very creative, I know. Usually the puzzle is on the easier side to turn, although it can be tight at times. That's because I think I need to make the clearances a bit bigger. The squares turn great, the octagons sometimes turn less great. I don't know if there's a reason for that or what. Probably just because I'm moving more pieces past each other with the octagon turns. And as you can see, I did have to get a bit more creative with the color scheme. I left these outer circles black and I made the full inner circle white, and that's basically to reduce the amount of corners and edges that have the same color on them. Now this puzzle obviously does have orbits, just like the tetradecaminx, except again it doesn't matter that much because you can't see the orbits visually. So this is a truncated square tiling, which basically just means you're taking the corners of the square tiling and creating new faces where those corners would be, which turns the original squares into octagons and the corners into more squares, which is what you're seeing here. You could also truncate the corners to a point and just create new squares instead. This process is called rectification. On the square tiling, it doesn't do much since it just creates more squares. So I guess a fully rectified square tiling would just be a quatrium but diagonal? Yeah, this process doesn't really do anything on the square tiling, but if you do that to a triangular tiling or a hexagonal tiling, you'll get the same tiling, which alternates with triangles and hexagons. And this is the face-turning trihexagonal tiling, which I very creatively named the Trihexium. And as you can see, I made the color scheme a bit different here as well, since I can now do something similar to what I did with the hex shaper, but get one circle of each color there. The pink looks better with better lighting, hang on. Alright, there we go, that looks a bit better. I don't know why my filament's like that, I promise it's better in person. Anyway, the thing with this one is that it has fourfold corners, and unlike in the Quackpot Quasar, I didn't chicken out this time and I actually did include the corners and petals that come with fourfold corners of this puzzle. So it ended up having a total piece count of about 98 parts, and this, believe it or not, was pretty much as small as it could be without it becoming too unstable. Here it is next to a standard 3x3 again, and here it is next to the Octium, which is, I believe, slightly larger than it, despite having fewer pieces. Solving this is really annoying, but I was able to do it. Here's a picture of it scrambled. Turning is also annoying because there is a lot of catching, and similar to the Octium, turning the triangular faces is much easier because there's fewer pieces sliding past one another when you're doing that. Those who are familiar with my channel and have seen my videos on my 3D designs will know about the term cannon face turning puzzle. If you don't know that, please watch this video in the info card, but basically this is considered to be a cannon puzzle, as is the Octium. That said, the Quackpot Quasar and the Orlov 4 are not considered canon because they're not deep enough to have the corners and petals that result with making the fourfold corners deeper. For those curious what a chiropentagonal tiling would actually look like in its canon form, this is it. Am I going to make it? Hell no. So that idea is up for grabs. If I was going to make this puzzle, I would call it the hieroglyph, but I'm not going to lie, I'm getting kind of sick of making 2D puzzles. That said, I might come back to this topic in the future to make even more Catalan and semi-regular tilings. I do have some more ideas for puzzles I could make out of those tilings. Anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm currently in a subscriber race, and we really need to catch up with AB Cuber, guys. We're coming down to it. Make sure to check out my other designs because I make more puzzles that are usually cooler than these. And on that note, this is Lord of the Cubes, signing off.